Hey, this is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches with another exciting episode for you today. Before we go on, there are a bunch of new subscribers and I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining. If you haven't done it yet, what are you waiting for? It's free today only. Okay guys, I think we should talk about Rolex, what's happening in the market, and how to get one. But before we move on, let's get the quick fist watch check out of the way. And here it is. Today I am wearing a beautiful Hulk Submariner in honor of our topic, and I'll tell you what guys, at the very end of this video I'm going to roll some additional footage on the green and the black subs so that we can talk a little bit about those, so stay tuned to the end. But now it's time. I've got a letter. Now, right before I read this letter from David Stevenson, I would like to drop in my email address, markgoldberg8@gmail.com, right here. Please do write to me. I would like to hear specifically your questions, but especially your success stories at the authorized dealer. And of course, if you've got a horror story, I want to hear that too. Plenty of horror stories, fewer success stories, but guys, write me either way. Oh, and if you're a little psychotic and you need a best friend, well, you know, write to your mother or get a dog. Okay, guys, here it is. David Stevenson says, "Hi, Mark. My name is David Stevenson, and I enjoy watching your videos online. I finally got to the point of being able to financially support a nice watch collection. After collecting a few nice watches, I realized that I really want a stainless steel Rolex watch, specifically the black Rolex Submariner and the Explorer 1. However, after calling and meeting my Rolex ADs in the area, it seems I'm having difficulty breaking the ice with them, despite coming in once a month and texting them every 2 weeks or so." That's actually kind of like the recommended way of doing this, isn't it? But let's continue and then we'll circle back and talk about the tactic and what to do. "They seem to be more interested in selling me other pieces and in most cases allude to the fact that my chances greatly improve in landing the Submariner with the more pieces I buy from them. I don't feel this is fair or right. I've been trying to buy one for nearly a year now. To me, if they get the watch for me, I'm willing to buy more from them. There is no guarantee if I buy other watches that I'll ever land the Rolexes. What can I do to crack the Rolex AD?" Well, this is the $1,000,000 question. Aside from, finding the golden ticket in a chocolate bar, it's really tough. Forming a relationship with the AD is one of the most important things you can do, but you have to pay a little attention to the nature of the AD. Now look guys, no slam on the corporate AD, but I think your family-owned AD might be a little more susceptible to the tactic, right? A corporate AD with multiple locations, they're going to have hard and fast policy and sales will have to stick to it. So if you're having trouble in your home region, check and see if you're dealing with a multi-location corporate AD, or maybe you'd be better off switching and chatting up a family-owned smaller AD. But of course, the issue really is the Steel Sports, the Rolex Submariner. It's become like the new hot watch. It used to be a few years ago that you had to buy a few things from the AD before you could be considered for a Daytona. Well, now it's very, very difficult to be considered from a Daytona unless you've bought an incredible amount of stuff from the AD. And that's because a lot of ADs are seeing 1, 2, maybe 3 Rolex Daytonas, especially the Panda, in a year. Okay, so it's no longer buy a few things, qualify for a Daytona. Literally that has spread to the sub, and that's because they're so difficult to get. So David, rather than suffer through an entire additional year trying to get a watch, I have an alternate plan for you, or at least an alternate route that you might think about taking. This year, the next 12 months, I think are likelier to be even harder for acquisition of something simple like a Steel Sports Submariner than even in the past year or two. And the reason is that first, Rolex has clamped down very hard on the supply of Steel Sports. And of course, the flagship of that is the sub, either with or without the date. So just by matter of long-range policy, they have cut supply or manufacturing capacity on that watch that you're interested in. They've ramped up a little bit the two-tone and the gold, but then of course the worldwide situation happened. Production is down by about 50% altogether. So they tightened the screws before the situation happened, and then that cut it even further. So basically, you're almost after, the unicorn right now. And isn't it a sad state of affairs? Don't shoot the messenger, guys. I'm delivering the bad news, but I'm not saying I'm in favor of any of this. It is not even really being driven by the authorized dealer. It's being driven by a Rolex. You have to understand the relationship. There is a manufacturer in Switzerland, and they are called Rolex. They're actually not even owned by an individual anymore. They're not even a public company. They are held in a charitable trust deep in the bowels of the secret Swiss charitable association laws, right? So we don't know, there's not a lot that we can find out about Rolex beyond what they want us to know. But we do know they are an independent company, and they do not sell their own watches. They have distribution contracts with authorized dealers throughout the world. So Rolex is not the AD, and the AD is not Rolex. The AD is either a family-owned small chain or individual jewelry store, or it's a corporately owned chain of multiple jewelry stores. And among the things that they sell typically would be Rolex. They are permitted to carry certain other brands, but I think all of that is a bit specified. And then they have to meet a whole bunch of Rolex designed contractual demands in order to keep the line. That has things to do with how much they will advertise. And in fact, they are required to advertise Rolex heavily, and they're required to devote an awful lot of prime retail floor space. They have to buy all their fixtures from Rolex. In other words, it's not easy or cheap to become an authorized distributor for Rolex. And at this time, as much as they would like to be selling watches, because that's the business of the AD. They don't make them, they sell them. And this is how they make all their money. So as much as they would like to be selling examples of watches right now, they just don't have the inventory. So I'm sure that's extremely frustrating to authorized dealers all over the world. Which brings me to the non-AD route that you could go. First of all, I'm sure that what you're seeking to purchase based on the date of your letter is the current 41 millimeter iteration of the Submariner. Okay, this is the 40 millimeter Hulk version, of course, but nonetheless, the reference number on this watch is the 116610LV. If it were the black version of this identical watch, it would be the 116610LN. And what David is apparently seeking to purchase is just like a hair bigger, like not even a full millimeter bigger. I believe the bracelet is 1 millimeter wider, but the actual watch head itself is like half of a millimeter larger. So, and its stock number is 126610LN for the black bezel version. Here's the thing, guys, you can buy either version of the steel Submariner on Chrono24 from an independent dealer or an independent seller. And you can do that on essentially what's considered to be the gray market or the aftermarket. And I think that it is currently very sensible for you to do that versus buying a bunch of stuff from a manufacturer that you don't want. So the Submariner current iteration is about $9,300, $9,400. And yes, on Chrono, the 116610 is pricing up at, for box papers, nice example, that's pricing up somewhere around $12,000 to $13,000. And if you want to get the new 41 millimeter version, that's pricing up in more like $13,500, maybe as much as $14,000. So you're looking at a premium depending on which version you're getting. You're looking at a premium of, I don't know, maybe $3,000, $3,500, maybe as much as $4,000. And while it may seem offensive to pay a premium of $3,000 to $4,000 over MSRP, think about it. That's actually a savings versus buying a bunch of stuff that you don't want that will lose a whole lot of value the second that you walk it right out of the authorized dealer, and you're having to wait. I almost can't believe I'm saying this, guys, but I think under certain circumstances, depending on the watch, depending on the way you're able to build relationship with your AD in your area, you may be better served to pay the premium, especially on a watch like the Submariner, because its premium is not nuts. Now, the premium on the Panda Daytona, that's a whole nother matter. Okay, that is a $13,500 watch, and the premium on that right now is, oh my gosh, it's approaching $20,000 in the way of a premium. But the premium on the Sub, we're looking at, I don't know, $3,000, $3,500, something like that. So what I think that you should do, David Frustrated Stevenson in California, is I think you should just run out to the gray market and purchase one, do it immediately. The only thing that you really need to be careful of is buy from a trusted source, right? In other words, buy from somebody who's got good reviews, who is well known, and there are lots of those guys all over the internet. Buy the seller, they always say, because if you have a problem, you'll have somebody standing behind your watch and you'll know that it is authentic. That's my best piece of advice. Now, I'd like to know from the guys out there in the audience, how did I do? You know, what do you think? Yes, we can complain about the authorized dealer, but like that doesn't get David a watch. Complaining doesn't do it. He needs a plan of action. Did I give him a good one, or what do you think he should do? What's your advice? Now, stay tuned. Let's have a look at some Submariners in steel. Here's the discontinued 40mm version, and honestly, at $12,000 to $13,000 on the aftermarket right now, I think this is the one to buy. You could have it tomorrow. Well, guys, thanks for having joined me. I really appreciate it. We're going to do this again soon. The Skullberg. Peace out.
Paint the sky.